Hello everybody, it's Jason the Redneck Zyla back with another clip from Redneck Prime Time. I told everybody in a couple videos that I had a story I wanted to tell you, and before I get into it I want to give a shout out to my son Zach Zyla. I love you with all my heart. My daughter Brianna Zyla, 16-year-old. She's beautiful, smart, and she sure got a mixture of her mama and me, 'cause she's like both of us. I'll tell you what. And then I got my little 8-year-old Lindy May Zyla, who was named after my mother. My mother's name is Linda May Potts, or was. That was her maiden name. So we named my daughter Lindy May. So I spread them out. I got a 27-year-old son, a 16-year-old, and then I got a 8-year-old. But anyway, for 27 years of my life, I used drugs and I drank alcohol almost every day. There was a 3-year period that I was going to church, and that was around 2004 that'd be around 2005 to 2000, maybe 7, so maybe 2 years. And I was going to church and singing in church and doing what I used to love to do when I was a little boy. And the doctor had me on tramadol because I had nerve damage and carpal tunnel, and that was the only thing I took was tramadol. And I remember my mama hiding them in her bedroom under the pillow so I wouldn't take no more. She gave them to me because she knew that I had a problem with drugs. But I'd always find them. She'd put them in the pillowcase. I'd shake that pillow and I'd hear them clink, clink, clink. And I'd get me an extra one every now and then. But tramadol never really got me high, but I was hurting. That's real. But from the age of 17, I started with mini thins, and then my son was born. And I took White Cross or ephedrine, as you know, you may know it today. It used to be legal in the gas station, and I took it. I upholstered furniture, so I had to be fast, and I had to work hard. I mean, I'm talking about when you put in 8 hours, Jack, you put in 8 hours. You know what I'm saying? And some of y'all watching this video building furniture today, you know what I'm talking about. But anyhow, I used that for a long time. I lost a lot of weight, and I got to where I couldn't eat at night because of the nausea, because I'd take so many of these mini thins. And then my wife at the time, my son's mother, her cousin came over, and I smoked some pot with him for the first time. He introduced it to me. I think I'd maybe seen it once, but I just never was interested in drugs, you know. I took the ephedrine because you could get that at the gas station. But once I tried that, y'all, I ate and giggled and laughed, and I was happy. So I felt like that was okay. That's a good thing. So I could take my mini thins during the day to keep up, and I could smoke my pot at night so I could eat and go to sleep. And that was a mixture for disaster, because I did that for a long, long time. And then once I got injured building furniture, about 10 years later, I was about 27 years old, they gave me Percocet. And I remember the first time I tried one of them things, it was a miracle drug to me. It did everything that the marijuana and the mini thins did combined. I didn't get sick to my stomach, because them mini thins were eating my stomach lining. I was about 125, 130 pounds. I was very, very skinny, and I was just angry and ill all the time. I stayed dehydrated because I didn't do nothing but drink beer and soda, and which is another reason my teeth have gotten as bad as they are. They're really bad. But I have a son, again, who's 27, Zach. When he was a little boy, he witnessed all this stuff. He witnessed me being mean to his mama. He witnessed us arguing. I remember one time she was throwing plates and glasses at me, because she got mad because I had some friends over and one of the girls was flirting with me. And anyhow, I asked them to leave, and when they left, I grabbed her and put her on the ground and held her on the ground, and he saw that. And, I have to live with that today. I was very angry, and a very angry person. I had a lot go on when I was a kid. I had a lot of abuse. I had two stepdads. My real daddy lives in Joliet, Illinois, which is where I was born. And he would come every summer, sometimes Christmas, and he would get me and take me back up to near Chicago, and I would stay with him. And my dad was my best friend. I mean, he never was a father. He was a friend. And I loved him so much. But then, once I got older and got married, he just quit coming. He's only met one of my kids in the past 27 years, and that's my son. He's never met my daughters, neither one of them. He don't ask about them. He don't send them no money. He don't ask for pictures. I haven't talked to my father in several years. So growing up, I felt abandoned because my stepdads, the ones my mother had married, they were very abusive. I used to get hit a lot, and I don't mean just spanked. I used to get my hair pulled really hard. I'd get punched, slapped, hit in the chest. I remember he'd grab the back of my hair back here and he'd lift it up, and every hair on my body would stand up, and he would yell at me and call me the most vulgar names. Something you would call somebody you absolutely hated. He would call me, "You ignorant son of a bitch," and "You're stupid," and he'd call me the P word. If I couldn't hold he did a lot of, he built a lot of dog houses because we had a lot of Walker dogs because he's a coon hunter and a deer hunter, and he raised all these Walker dogs back there, and we had puppy pens and dog pens, and he'd have me out there holding up trying to help him, and I didn't weigh nothing. And when I was a kid, and he'd say, "Hold that board up, boy, down, pussy." And I'm sorry I said that, y'all. I'm sorry for the language, but I'm just telling you that's what he would say. And he'd say, "Are you that stupid? You are the stupidest son of a bitch I've ever met. Surely you got more sense than that." He used to say that. And if I'd say something to him or look at him funny, I remember I'd get mad from him calling me these names, and I'd give him a look, and he'd hit me across the mouth, and he'd say, "Look at me." He said, look at me like that one more time, see what happens to you." His favorite words were "by God," and when he said them, he meant business. He'd look at you. Let me see if I can imitate him. He'd say, "By God, boy, let me tell you something. You say one more damn word, and I'm going to whoop your damn ass. You understand me?" And that's how he talked to me. And I can't do it like he could. He was just mean. The only thing he did good for me is he taught me how to play basketball. He'd hit me. If I didn't shoot that ball right, he'd yank my hair. If I didn't let that ball spin off if I shot two-handed, he'd come over and smack the hell out of me and say, "You better let that ball roll off the tip of them fingers." Just mean. But anyway, I decided one day I was going to learn some martial arts and whoop his ass. So I started taking martial arts in Mississippi down here, and it was Blue Dragon Taekwondo, and I loved it. I had a blast. But it got to where Mama couldn't afford it, and I didn't get to go no more. So as I got older, and I didn't tell my mother, and I didn't tell him, really didn't tell nobody, I started taking some martial arts in New Albany, Mississippi there. And I kind of kept it to myself, but it was good. It was kind of right around the time I started smoking marijuana, and I remember I was taking it, and I was in great shape, like I was getting in great shape. And I learned a lot. And then in 1998, 99, I got mixed in with some guys and started learning jiu-jitsu. Now, I didn't pay for the class, and I didn't go to this big class, but I started learning how to, do choke holds and how to grapple and self-defense, and it was great. I learned a lot. And I was bound and determined that I was going to whoop his ass for the things he done to me. But every single time we'd get into it, when I was in my, younger 20s, I'd get scared. The way he talked put a fear in me that no other man's ever been able to do. I'm not scared of nobody. I will fight a bear. I don't like fighting. I don't like to do it. But I'll tell you what, if I have to take care of business, by God, I can take care of business. You know what I'm saying? But there ain't but one man, and I'm still to this day, he can barely walk. He's got diabetes. He walks, funny because he's gained so much weight. And he can still, now he don't do that now. He's a totally different person. But if he was to look at me now and get mad, it puts a fear in me because of the abuse that I took when I was growing up. Now, I'm not trying to call him my stepdad. I'm not trying to make him out to be totally the bad guy, because I was a little shit. I talked back. I did not like him from the time he put his hands on me and my brother, and even my sister. For one time she left the bathroom door open when she was using the bathroom, and he went in there and hit her with a belt buckle, and damn near broke her foot, put a knot on her foot, and I just couldn't stand him. Just could. There is no word there is no way to express the hate that I have for that man. But anyway, getting back to the story. My son, I remember when he was 5 and 6, he was in T-ball and all that, and we'd put him in there, and his mama, she's deaf, so she can't hear, and we communicated with sign language. That caused a lot of problems, because I had friends that would come over, and we would be talking, and I was young, y'all, I wished I'd have been better, but, just a better person to her, and a better person around my son, a better father figure, but I can't change the past. But we'd be talking, and she'd say, What are you saying? And I'd get aggravated, because I'm like, I ain't finna sign every damn thing I'm saying. I can't carry on. I can't listen to 3 people talk and say everything they're saying plus what I'm saying to you. That's a full-time job. I ain't doing it. So she would just sit there, and while we would talk or cut up, and we'd get in a lot of fights about that, because there would be some girls that'd come over with their boyfriends, and they'd give me the eye or flirt, or I'd admit I flirted too, and we'd get into it, We stayed into it. Her parents couldn't stand me. From the time she got pregnant, we were excited about it. I was 17 years old. She wanted to get pregnant because she wanted to get married. But anyway, I'm jumping all over the place. But I remember when I found out she was pregnant, that her mother come to my mama's house. I was in the 11th grade. And she told my mother, if they're not going to get married, she's going to have an abortion. And my mother said, they won't be no killing this baby. So we'll get them married, and we'll get them married tomorrow. So the very next day, sure enough, we got married. And that was December the 18th of 1992 is when I got married. My son was born July 17th of 1993. And growing up, after all the marijuana I was smoking and all the pills, and then, he would be around that. And I wouldn't do it in front of him. I'd go out on the back patio and smoke. My buddies would come over and we'd smoke pot, and, I'd take these pills. And he would come and ask, Daddy, come play with me. And I'd say, Zach, go in yonder and play PlayStation. I remember when PlayStation first come out, I bought him one. I was like, go in there and play your PlayStation. Well, he'd go in there and he'd sit in front of that TV and play that thing all the time. He'd say, Daddy, come jump on the trampoline with me. But I'd be too high, to ever go out there. There's a few times I got out there and jumped around with him, and he just loved it. He just wanted to spend time with his daddy. And all I did, I was selfish, and all I gave a shit about was myself. And I didn't think that at the time. I loved my son, but I didn't know how to be a father at all, because I never had one, and the ones that I did have was abusive. And anyway, me and his mama ended up getting divorced. She accused me of having an affair, which I didn't. But ended up she was talking to somebody else. And my brother told me about it. But she was done with me anyway. And I don't blame her. I wasn't worth a damn. I wasn't. All I did was stay high and complain. And I had a temper. And my son saw it all the time, and he didn't deserve it. And I felt like the most worthless person in the world. I don't know if you out there listening has ever felt that way, or if you felt like nobody loved you and that you've never been nothing your whole life. But that's how I felt. Because from a very young age, my dad left, he'd come see me every once in a while. He never sent me nothing, you know. He didn't even call. I didn't call. He didn't call and talk to me. I just knew that every summer he was going to show up and take me back to Chicago for 3 months, and then I'd be coming back. And then it was I think it was 1986. My sister got to go up there with us at Christmas, and some things happened up there to her. And I witnessed it. I was in the room to where my stepbrother molested my sister right in front of me and showed me things that a little boy shouldn't ever see. And he would buy pornographic or rent pornographic movies and have me sit beside him while he would do things to himself and then do things to me and show me how to do it. And and I looked up to him. He was in a circus, Ringling Brothers. He walked a high wire. And I won't mention his name on this. But I really looked up to him, and he was doing all this stuff. And I when you're that young, you see an idol, a male figure that you look up who does backflips and somersaults and can walk on his hands, and he carried me around on his shoulders. He was like my best friend, and he was like an older brother. I looked at him like that. And then when he done that to me and my sister, really my sister, she was the one that got it, But I was in the same room, And you know what that does to a kid? Some people don't, but some of you do. And, I put that in the back. Men, we have a box that's in our brain. Women, I saw this on a video once. Women has their brain, it's constantly moving. They're constantly thinking, and they're coming up with answers of questions and questions with answers and what they're going to do, and they'll drive you nuts. You can't get no peace. They'll be like, honey, I'm going to go to the store. You want to go with me? No, I think I'm going to sit here. Why don't you ever want to go nowhere with me? And you know how it goes. Then you feel bad and you end up going. Then you're miserable, and then you get in a fight because you're not talking. You ain't talking that much to me. Why ain't you talking that much to me? And that's a typical woman, So, anyway, but with my first wife, it wasn't like that. We just fought all the time. But anyway, we got divorced, and my son stayed with his mother. And I remember going to get him on the weekends, and I'd met another girl and we got married, and I was fixing to have my middle daughter, and I'd go she had 2 younger sons, and I'd go to get my son to bring him back. So only reason he would even come was to play with them little boys, his stepbrothers, and they had so much fun. But you'd think that I'd have got out there and played with them too, but I didn't. I'd just tell them to get out of the house, go outside and play. I did try to build them a skateboard ramp once, but that was for myself, because I love to skateboard, have my whole life. I think of Brandon Novak. He was one of my heroes. Tony Hawk was one of my heroes, and Bam and all them when I was growing up. The guys from Jackass movies. Actually, Brandon Novak's got a recovery story as well. But anyway, that's about all I taught him how to play basketball. My son was the best ball player, and I don't say this just because he's my son. He can knock the net out of shooting a ball. So I took him. We all went to Six Flags one time, and they lined up them balls out there. You got to shoot 5 from this angle, 3-pointers. He went through there, and he won this big old teddy bear thing. He got to pick the biggest prize because the last 5 shots he hit, or 6, he hit all of them but one. And they're like, you get the biggest prize. And we're there at Six Flags, and he's carrying around this, I think it was a bunny. And this thing is the size of a car. And he's dragging this thing around. I remember this little girl, his mom parent, she walked up, she goes, ooh, bunny. And my son looked at her and said, you can have it. And boy, her parents looked at us like, you son of a bitches. You know, like, we got to carry this damn thing around. Thanks a lot, you know. But anyway, I'm one of them when I'm telling the story, I'm all over the place. You know, I can't just stay on a path. I wander off from time to time because these memories, they come back to me. I've been sober 3 years now, and I've got a lot of things that will come to me that I have forgotten about. And I mean, it's like a punch in the gut, some of them. I'll be like, I can't believe I did that, or I can't believe I treated that person that way. And, you know, it just really, it haunts me still. But anyway, my son rarely ever wanted to come visit. And it got to where, unless we were doing something really fun, he didn't want to come. He wanted to stay at home with his mama. He was a protector of his mother because she was deaf. She couldn't hear anything. And she had a couple boyfriends and whatnot, but it was him and her most of the time. And he loved his mama, and he protected his mama. And that he's just a good boy. And anyway, so I have my daughter, who's 16 now, and she lived with me. Me and her mother had done some things, some drugs together. And my daughter was real little. She was 2 years old. But anyway, I'm not going to get off on what happened with all that because I'm not going to do that. But me and her mother ended up getting a divorce, and my daughter, I can't remember, I think she was 3 years old. Well, some things happened, and her mama wasn't in a very good place, so my daughter come to live with me. And at this time, I'm working with Treasure Hunters Roadshow, which was a TV show. I'm making $150,000 a year, and I had a 22-year-old girlfriend. I was 34 years old, and I had a big house. I had 3 vehicles. I had a trailer, not a trailer like you live in. I mean, one of them nice trailers you pull behind a Z71 Chevrolet, which is what I had, Tahoe, fully loaded. I had a Cadillac, 2001 STS Cadillac that was decked out, and I had a 2007 Kia Spectra, which would later on in years be the only car that I kept and lasted me for 13 years. But when my daughter was born, she was so beautiful. That was the most beautiful child that I've ever seen in my life, and still to this day, I don't know how somebody like me made somebody like that. She is absolutely one of the prettiest girls I've ever seen. And when I look at pictures of her, it's almost like, especially now that I'm sober, it's almost like it's a feeling that I can't explain. She'll send a picture with her hand, her chin on her hand, or she's out there and the wind's blowing her hair, and it's just like, I just love her so much. She's so perfect. She don't take shit off nobody. She will bust somebody up quick. And I'm telling you now, I know you ain't supposed to have little girls acting that way, but my daughter got it from me. She's tough. Her mama's tough too, but she got that from me because she knew I liked to fight and martial arts, and she wanted to do it when she was little. And she will, look, I've seen her, my nephew, one time I went in the bedroom, and he's twice her size, and she had him in a chokehold on the ground. His eyeballs were about to look like that's going to come out of his head. His glasses were up on his head, and she had him in a choke. And she said, tell him not to do it again, Daddy. Tell him not to do it again. And I said, let him go. He can't breathe. He was turning purple. And I had to get her off of him. I said, Bree, you don't do that. She said, well, I bet he won't put his hands on me again. And that's just my 16-year-old daughter. At that time, she was about 12 or 11 or 12, but tough as nails. And I'm glad she's like that now because she's independent. She won't take shit off nobody. So if anybody out there, you ever end up meeting Brianna Azala, let me tell you one thing. You better not ever put your hands on her. Number one, I'll kill you. And number two, I probably won't kill you because she'll kill you first. Okay? But anyway, She's such a beautiful girl. She's doing so well in school. She used to say she wanted to be a lawyer. I don't know who said it more, me or her. But that movie, A Time to Kill with Matthew McConaughey, we used to watch that when she was little. And I told her, you can do that. And she used to say, I want to be a lawyer. I said, yeah, because you can argue with anybody. You know, you can argue. So, but now, you know, she's finding her path. And she's staying with her mother in Tennessee and doing really well. And then I've got an 8-year-old later on in life. Not, you know, I was 40, or no, I wasn't. I was 38 years old, and I met another girl, and it was a one-night stand. And 3 weeks later, she was knocking on my door telling me she was pregnant, and I did the right thing. I went in and I moved out of the house I was in, moved in the house her parents had bought her, and tried to be a daddy. And at this time, I'm still taking a lot of pills. Still, I became more of an alcoholic. I was drinking almost every day, but I was just worthless, y'all. And me and her would fight and argue because she used drugs and drank too. And then we had my daughter, Lindy Mae, that she didn't deserve any of that either. So all three of my kids have been through hell with me. I have put them through hell. And I remember when people used to say, my mother used to say, why don't you call your kids? Why don't you talk to your kids? And it was the guilt and the shame of all the things I had done to them. I would procrastinate everything. If I hadn't talked to them in 2 or 3 days, I would get this anxiety because I think they're mad at me. Or if I call them, what do I say? Because I feel so guilty for not calling them more and doing more because all I could do was get high and drink. I moved to Ohio and stayed there for 4 years. I went to rehab, got sober, stayed 100 days at this rehab, Life Corps in Tupelo, Mississippi. And as soon as I left there, I stopped and got a drink. As soon as I left there, my first place I stopped was the beer store and got a 25-ounce beer. May have been 2, I can't remember. But I started drinking. Now, I wasn't taking the pills no more, but I was drinking. And I hid that a little bit for a while. I had to stay with my mother for a while, and I had a job in Blue Mountain, Mississippi at dirt cheap. Wasn't making $8 an hour, but I was waiting on that job in Ohio to open up. My brother-in-law owned 3 pawn shops, and he wanted me to manage one. Since I was good with the Treasure Hunters Roadshow thing, I know coins, I know antiques, I know gold, I know all that. So I had that knowledge. And he trusted me because I told him I was sober. And I moved up there, and all I did was drink. And then I met a girl that was in addiction, active addiction. She had just got out of prison in Chillicothe, Ohio. And I fell head over heels in love with this girl. I really did. I thought the sun rose and set with her. And it was codependency. And codependency, if you don't know what that means, is I need you to need me. That's the best definition I can give you. But I was so in love with this girl that no matter what she did, I would put up with it. And I guess it was God's way of, giving back to me what I dished out all these years. At this time, my son's living in Memphis. He's driving a brand new car. He's making his own. He's making good money. He come a long way, right? So I'm living in Ohio. I'm not calling neither one of my kids. I hadn't talked to my 8-year-old. At the time, she was 5, and then my other daughter was 12, 13, and my son was 24. He came visited me and brought my daughter once or twice, but that's it. All I did was get high and drink every day, go to bars and sing karaoke, and for attention, because again, I had this emptiness inside me that had been there for so long that no one loved me. But if I would entertain them, they would like me. And that's what I would do. I would entertain. I loved to dance. I would sing, and I'd get all these friends around me, my so-called friend. And I met one good friend up there. Her name was Jennifer. And to this day, I love her with all my heart. I don't get to talk to her much anymore, but she was so good to me. Because I got so bad on the drugs up there, on the Suboxone and Subutex, I was taking 4 of these 8 milligram pills a day, and I was drinking from 5 o'clock in the morning until the time I went to sleep. I lost so much weight. My brother-in-law had to let me go at the pawn shop. I was working at Amazon in Ohio, in Etna, Ohio, and all I did was stay high, y'all. I stayed high, and she was the friend. She was so worried about me when I didn't have nowhere to sleep, because me and my girlfriend would get into it. Ended up moving out of the house my brother-in-law let me rent, and I moved in with this girl that I loved. I thought I loved. It was an apartment, and she was messing around on me with everybody. When I would leave, she would have the dope man come to the house, and they'd sleep together. And then when I'd come home, she'd sleep with me. And when I found out about it, I'd get real angry, and we'd fight, and we even put hands on each other. But then I'd tell her I was sorry and I loved her, because I didn't feel like I could live without her. Again, it was abandonment issues, and I felt like I'd never had nobody love me my whole life. Even my kids didn't want nothing to do with me. My mama didn't want nothing to do with me. She prayed for me, but she was done with me. I put her through hell. I put my kids through hell, y'all. And then finally, I went 3 weeks. I was sleeping in my car with no air in 10-degree weather with snow on the ground in Ohio. And I'd go through Walmart parking lot or in different parking lots, even drive-thrus at McDonald's and whatever, picking up change so I could get a drink. I would put $1 worth of gas in my car, and I'd start it every 30 minutes or so to get it warm. The air would blow if I'd pull on this wire underneath where the blower motor is, and I'd pull on it, would blow, and I'd get it warm, just warm enough that I'd shut it off. But I had that beer. I may not have much gas left, but I had that beer. And my friend, she told me, I asked her could I stay with her, and she let me sleep on her couch. And that saved my life. I'd be dead today if it wasn't for Jennifer. So Jennifer, I know you're going to watch this. I love you. And you were a part of saving my life. And I'll love you for the rest of my life. And I miss you dearly. And I wish I could hug your neck. I really do. Thank you. You and Chuck. Thank both y'all for everything you've done for me. I'm getting a little emotional. But anyway. Finally, I called my best friend, Michael Biles, who lives here in Tupelo. He had been in treatment with me the first time I went to rehab, and I called him. I hadn't eaten in 3 weeks. Jennifer I remember she made some lasagna one night, and tried to get me to eat it, and I couldn't take but 2 bites. I was so lovesick and hurt sick over my girlfriend cheating on me and left me. And then from all the pills, she would give me these pills, the Suboxone and Subutex, and then when she wasn't around, I didn't have anything, so I would be sick. I stayed sick. Y'all, I lost so much weight. I was gray. My eyeballs were sticking out of their sockets. I hadn't talked to my family at all. I'd been sleeping in my car at my friend's house, and Jennifer don't even know that I used to stay in my car. I don't think she does. She may, but I didn't want her to worry about me, because she really loves me, you know. So, she was my karaoke buddy, by the way. She can sing. She's got a gorgeous voice, and we would sing. Our favorite song to sing together out during karaoke was Always by Atlantic Starr. And don't get it twisted. We could light that shit up, Jack, and bring the crowd in. And I'm hoping one day, I'm sober now, I don't drink or anything, but one day I hope I can go and hang out with her and have a reunion and sing with her. But anyway, I felt my body dying, y'all. I hadn't eaten in 3 weeks, hardly just little nibbles here and there, and I was drinking all day long, and I was so skinny you could see every bone in my body, and I literally felt myself dying. I don't know if you've ever been there, but I could feel my body dying, and I knew it wasn't long before I wouldn't be here no more. And my friend Jennifer said, you need to do what you've got to do. So I called my friend Michael, who worked at the same treatment center. We were roommates there. He stayed sober and ended up being supervisor there. So I called him, and I hadn't talked to him in 3 years. And he said, You don't look good, brother." I said, "I'm not." I was sitting on Jennifer's couch talking FaceTime to him. He said, "Be here Thursday. Come from Ohio back to Tupelo, Mississippi, and we'll get you treatment." I drove all the way from Ohio to Mississippi, drinking, taking all these pills, and I drank the whole way. I don't even remember the drive. I was using my cell phone I was FaceTiming, Googling, maps where I could see where I was going, on how to get there, because I was so messed up. And then I was also texting everybody. And I didn't wreck. I didn't kill nobody, and I didn't kill myself, which is God doing for me what I couldn't do for myself. But I made it back to this treatment center. Now, I stayed in this treatment center. I remember I was dead, almost dead when I walked in. And I stayed 153 days. And I have been sober ever since. So for 27 years, I pissed away my life. And I hurt my family, and I hurt my children. I don't even deserve for them to give me the time of day. I don't deserve it. I don't deserve their love, because I was no father at all to them. And I'm really trying my best to make up for it. I really am, but there's no making up for that. But let me get on the good side of it, y'all. Just the biggest blessing ever, you know. My daughter calls me a lot. She's always, she talks to me like, she's a young woman, and she just surprises me every time I talk to her. I don't talk to her every day or nothing, but we talk, and I get my littlest girl every other weekend. If I'm not working or something, she'll come stay with me. And my son, I'll go stay a weekend with him every now and again, and then he'll come down here. He's come down here once and stayed a weekend with me. But anyway, as you can see, I've had a lot of teeth. I don't have any back teeth from the drug use and from the car wrecks and from everything else. And I got one knocked out from a hook and a forklift where we were loading a machine at Williams Equipment in Shannon, Mississippi, and I got hit in the mouth. So I don't have hardly any teeth left. And then I lost one biting on some broccoli there too. I was eating on broccoli, and one broke out, this one right here. It broke out eating broccoli from a Chinese restaurant. The beef and broccoli, ain't that something? And then, so I don't have any teeth. I think I've got 5 or 6, and then I've got the ones that are broken off that are up in the gums. I have a lot of pain, y'all. My mouth gets infected all the time, and it hurts. I'd rather somebody pull out my toenails, y'all, than have a toothache. Now, I'm telling y'all all this for a reason. If you're out there and you're sitting, if you're watching this video and you're in active addiction, or you drink every day and you feel like life is hopeless, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, and I want you to listen to me, and I want you to believe it. If I can get sober, anybody can get sober. And when you do the right thing, good things happen. I promise you that. And you got to believe that a power greater than yourself can fix your life, because you can't do it. If you could do it, you wouldn't be in the position you're in. So you got to be willing, number one, and you have to accept the fact that you're an addict and that you cannot manage your own life, and that you are an addict. You have to accept you're an addict. You got to admit you're an addict. That's the first step. Admit that you are an addict and that your life has become unmanageable. But if you're tired and you're like sitting on the couch, how many of you do this? You sit in your apartment and you keep the blinds closed and the windows closed, and you sit in the dark, and every time somebody knocks on your door, you don't want to talk to nobody. You're so depressed because you've procrastinated every relationship. You've procrastinated every bill. You've procrastinated everything in your life, and all the problems keep piling up. And the only way to drown out them problems is to put a drink in your mouth or to take a pill. And it only lasts for so long. And then when you wake up, you got more problems on top of the problems you already had, because you done something stupid, like drive and hit another car, or you got drunk, made a fool out of yourself, or some other family members done got mad at you, whatever it is, or you fell, or get a tooth knocked out. And then you wake up and then you feel even worse about yourself, and then you drink even more and you take even more dope, and all you want to do is die. You know, I tell people all the time, I didn't have the courage to kill myself because I believe growing up that if you committed suicide that you went to hell, because I grew up in a Baptist church here in Mississippi, you know. But I'll promise you this, I was perfectly fine if God would just take me during my sleep and I didn't have to wake up the next day. I was angry when I would wake up the next day. I'd wake up and be like, why in the hell am I still here? Because I don't want to feel another day of this shit. I don't want to feel another day of guilt and shame and how everyone in this world hates me and has always hated me and mistreated me. You know, it was woe is me for sure. But that's what you feel like. You know, I can't even keep a girlfriend because they don't want nothing to do with me. They'd rather have the dope man that's got the dope than somebody who needs the dope. You know, that's what it was. I just wanted somebody to love me. And there they were the whole time. My three angels, my son, my daughter, and my youngest daughter. They've always loved me. And the love I needed was right there the whole time. And I was chasing it another direction. God has been there the whole time. The love that first of all, I need foremost. And I would chase it from I would look for females to fill that void, a relationship. And I used to think, if I can I'd find people with a lot of problems, obviously. And I would think, well, if I can fix their problems, it will help me be a better person and I'll start liking myself again. But it never worked out that way. Have you ever felt that way? It never works out that way. Because their problems become your problems. Your problems become their problems, and all you do is fight because all you got is problems. You're not taking care of the main problem. That is, you're an addict or you're an alcoholic, and you can't manage one day of your life without using or drinking or destroying something. So anyway, I finally made it back down here to Tupelo, and I stayed 153 days in treatment, and I got out. And I went to a sober living house, and I stayed there for several months. For a while. I found 6, 7 months. And before I even went on a date, I was almost a year sober. And the girl I went on a date with, she was over, I think she was a year sober. And she called her sponsor, and I called my sponsor and asked if it was all right if we went to the movies. They both said it was okay, and we went to the movies. And as a matter of fact, y'all, we never left each other's side. We was around each other every day ever since and have been since then. And that's a good woman. That's a woman who's loved me and been there for me more than anybody has ever, as far as a partner. You know, and she gets me. She knows she's the nervous one, the one who but she's got a little temper to her too, but you know, she's a problem fixer, and she's got her ways. Anyway, we're off balance. We're totally different people, but yet we're the same. We level each other out. You know, if we ever get in an argument, it don't last long because one of us is going to apologize to the other one and say, I'm sorry, I love you, I didn't mean that. And I've never had that before because I was always too screwed up, you know. But here's the gift. I'm getting to the gift. My teeth have been hurting really bad. And infection. Every now and then they just swell up, and I'll go to the emergency room or to a clinic, and they'll give me antibiotics, and I'll get swelled down because I can't afford to. I mean, you know how much it costs to get new teeth? A lot of money. And I procrastinate still at times because I'm afraid of what the outcome's going to be or what I might hear. So I went, finally, I called Aspen Dental here in Tupelo, Mississippi, and they told me to come in a month later, and a month later I went in, and they took me in this room, and the doctor looked at my mouth, and he said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to pull this tooth, we're going to pull all this, and you're going to have some oral surgery done, and then when that's done, you're going to leave here with a set, and you'll bring those back, and they'll be fitted to fit your gums because your gums will be swollen, but they'll shrink, and then we'll give you another set, all this stuff. And I was so excited. I have insurance now where I work because I forgot to mention I work at the same treatment center now that I went to for 153 days. and I am a supervisor there now, currently. And so I do have dental. And I took that insurance in there, and it paid $1,500 of it. And when I got to the table for them to talk about the financing, they turned it around. It showed $12,000 on this paper to get these teeth pulled and to get tops, bottoms, and a second set. $12,000. Now my insurance paid $1,500, and they did some finagling with something else, and ended up it was $6,000. Well, Lord, I live day to day, y'all. We barely buy groceries around this house at times. Well, that's the first thing. We're going to have groceries, but it's a struggle, And I left that place. I walked out there because they were misleading. They told me, at Aspen Dental tells you we're the best at this and we work with you. They don't work with you for shit. Now, I'm not saying that because I'm just angry. They lied. And I ran out of that place, and I got in my car, and I spun out, which I hadn't acted that immature in a long time. But I yelled, I might as well drink, damn it. I was that mad because of pain, and I'm just tired of looking ugly. I feel ugly. And I want to smile again, And I pulled out of there, and I called my son. I texted him. I said, I might as well drink. And he said, what's going on? And then I didn't answer him when he called. And my sister called me, and everybody was worried about me. But I calmed down. I wasn't going to drink. I was just mad, and I said it. I just said that just because I was mad. I might as well drink. But I was like, Jason, you know damn well you ain't finna do that. I don't think about drinking and using no more. I have no urge to do that. So a week later, I called my son. I said, son, I'm going to get an appointment somewhere else. Would you go with me? Because I figured if he was with me, he works in finance, and he works at One Main Financial in Memphis, Tennessee. And he is very good with finances. So I thought, if I can get him to go with me, maybe he'll hear something or he'll catch something, and maybe everything will work out better. So he asked his boss, and he'd been dealing with some things himself, and he was able to take off. So we went last week, and we went in there, and I laid there, and the guy comes through and touched around. And he said, okay, this tooth number 15, 13, 12's gone. We need to do this one and the 8 and the 7 and all that stuff. And then when they was done with that, I stood up, and they came back, and they had this plan. And here it is. Now, Aspen Dental was over $6,000. That was after my insurance. This place, to get my teeth all pulled, my insurance covers it. It's $1,493 is how much it's going to cost to get all my teeth pulled. That's my insurance, pays for that. The balance is $1,613.50. My son pulled out a credit card out of his wallet. He went online and got with a $6,000 limit. He said, Dad, you're going to get your teeth, or you're going to get new teeth. Now, I think back to all them times, y'all. He asked me to jump on a trampoline with him. Or he asked me to play a game with him. Or he asked me to, spend some time with him. And I'd say, go away, go in there and play. I'm busy. And I look at all the times he saw me doing things to his mama, holding her down on the ground. We'd be in a fight. He heard me yelling at her, and I'd yell at him. I never hit my son. I think I popped him one time, maybe twice, but I never abused my son. But he just saw I was always mean, and that's all he knew. And my son is paying for this. He called me the other day, and he said, Dad, as a matter of fact, I got a $900 rebate on my car, and I've got money in the savings. And I think I'm just going to pay cash for it. I said, son, that's your money. Please don't do that. We can use the card and I'll make the payments. He said, well, I really don't want to do that and use up that credit or have to worry about a payment, Dad. Let's just pay it off. But one way or another, you're going to have teeth. Is that not the hugest blessing of my life? Besides when my three kids were born. This is the biggest blessing of my life. I'm going to have teeth, and I'm going to be able to smile again, and I'm going to be able to feel good about myself, which I do feel good about myself. I'm 3 years sober. I'm supervisor at the same treatment center I went to. I've got a nice vehicle. I've got a great girlfriend. I live in a pretty good, nice house. I mean, it needs some work, but it's livable. I've got a 60-inch television. We've got internet. Our kids have iPads, and when my little girl comes, when she gets on the internet, and we got a PlayStation 3. They play Minecraft. I mean, I've got a lawnmower. I can mow my own yard, you know. I've got clothes. Some of them come from City Thrift, which is a thrift store, whatever. And then some of them were given to me by a really nice guy at work. He brought me some. Check this out. The blessings that come. I don't know if y'all heard of the On Cloud shoes. He brought me 2 pair of these. Gave them to me. And I have another friend named Amy at work who brought me a big Rebel Country, which is Ole Miss Rebels, sign, and I put it in my office. The gifts that you get. And Amy is one of my very best friends too. I'm so thankful for her. We're football buddies and everything, but that girl means more to me than you can ever imagine. So if you're watching, Amy, I love you. And I've had really good friends. I have really good friends. And I have a son, the greatest son in the world, who just took money that he could have used for himself and helped his father. And it's going to help his father to get some teeth. I go to the 18th of this month to get the impressions, and then we go from there. But y'all, let me tell you something, and listen to me closely. If you're in active addiction, if you're an alcoholic, and you feel like no one loves you, and you've been abused, or you've done so much to your family you think they can never forgive you, you're wrong. But it has to start with you. If you go to treatment, you may have been to treatment, you may have been many times, and every time I bet you'd say, I'm doing this for my kids. You're going to have to, that can get you there, but you've got to learn, you have to do it for you first. And you got to learn to love yourself and care about yourself. And I've struggled with that because of my teeth and all that, and my sons, I mean, look, I'm just blessed. But you're sitting there probably thinking, well, yeah, that's easy for you to say. Look at where you're at. You don't know where I'm at. Well, I can tell you this. If you suffer from the same disease that I do of addiction and alcoholism, I can tell you I understand where you're at. Wherever you are, I understand it. And I've been there, and I know it. But I also know that if you'll pick your head up and you'll go and you'll get the treatment that you need, and you say, today is the last day. I am done. Today. I don't want to live like this no more. I want my kids. Maybe your kids have been taken. I want my kids back. Maybe your family don't trust you and they don't want you around. I want my family back. But here's what you got to start doing. First of all, you got to stop doing this. How many times have you said, I promise I won't do it again. I promise I won't do it again. And then you keep doing the same thing over and over. It's called insanity. Doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. Because we always think we can use and drink successfully. Well, I won't do it this way next time. I'll only drink on the weekends, or I'll only take what the prescription says. That's what we do to ourselves because we're addicts. It's a disease. And it will ruin your life. And if you leave it untreated, it will kill you. You will die. Your family don't deserve it. Your kids don't deserve it. As a matter of fact, look at me. You don't deserve it. You don't deserve it, no matter what anyone has ever said about you. It don't matter. Maybe you've done some horrible things. We're addicts. We've made bad decisions, but that don't make us bad people. Maybe you've done some horrible things, but it's nothing you can't be forgiven for. But stop doing this and talking and go do what you got to do, and do it for you. And don't try to convince everybody around you that you're doing good. Don't call them once every 3 or 4 days and go, hey, I'm 5 days sober. Ain't you proud of me? No. You take that you time and you get away from everybody and you find out who you are. And like Dolly Parton says, you find out who you are and you do it on purpose. And when you do that, you start to care about yourself more, and you see the change, and you feel the change, and everything starts coming back. It may take a little time, but as long as you do the next right thing, one day at a time, 1 minute at a time, 1 second at a time, you will get back what you have lost. I promise you that. I promise you. Don't play games with God. Don't say, here you go, God. I'm turning it over to you right now because I can't manage my life, but I'm going to keep this or I'm going to drink a little bit because drinking's never been my problem, or I'm going to take my anxiety pill, or whatever it is. Don't turn it all over to God and say, here you go, I can't do it. No, and you may be struggling, you may be mad at God, whatever it is, but just try this. You tried everything else. If you're listening to me and you got problems, ain't none of it worked. So why not? You have nothing to lose. Why not listen to what I've got to say? Here's all you got to do. You say, God, I can't control my life. I am an addict. I'm an alcoholic. And I have destroyed my life. Can you please help me? That's it. That's it. And you drop everything you're doing and you get handed over. You say, I'm not worrying no more. I'm not taking this stress on no more. I'm not going to live in the past of how everybody treated me and what happened to me. And I'm not going to think about the future and how long it's going to take for me to get everything back. Because if you do either of those two things, you will drink and you will use, because anxiety will control you. It will come back and it will be overwhelming, and you will use and you will fail. Wake up in the morning and you ask God to get you through the day sober. You thank Him for a day and you ask Him to get you through the day sober. Write a gratitude list every morning of things you're grateful for. You may not have nothing but a garbage bag of clothes, a toothbrush, and a pair of socks. But you write down what you're grateful for. If it ain't nothing much than that, you write it down. And you do that, and then you go through the day. Do your best not to hurt anyone or offend anyone. And you keep telling yourself, I'm not going to drink and I'm not going to use today. And when you retire at night and you lay down in the bed, you thank God for another day sober. And you ask forgiveness if you have, hurt anyone, or ask God, if I've offended anyone, please show, let it be known. Think about what you said that day. And if you have, go make amends to them as soon as you can. And then you go to sleep and you wake up and you do it the next day. One day at a time is really one day at a time. Are you tired? Are you tired of sitting around being depressed? Are you tired of staying hidden in your house with all the lights off? Are you tired of your body aching, laying in the bed with your legs hurting, shitting on yourself, peeing yourself because you don't have any dope? And then you're constantly on the phone looking for something. Hopefully somebody's got something they can give me, hopefully, so I can feel better. And then as soon as somebody is funny, we can't even get out of bed. We're hurting so bad. But as soon as the dope man says, hey, I got my prescription filled, Jack, we get a bunch of energy and our whole mood changes. I'll be there in a minute. All right, I'm getting in the shower and you're all happy. Yeah, that's how it works, don't it? You ever done that? Bet you have. And I bet there's a lot of things that you've done for drugs and alcohol so that you could have them. But that's okay, because you don't have to. Here's some good news. The best news you'll ever hear, you never have to drink a drink or take another drug as long as you live. Ever. And you can have everything that you deserve, because you do deserve it. You're one of God's people. Don't matter what color you are. It don't matter where you've been, what you've done. You deserve just as much love as anybody else. But you got to fight for it. You got to fight for your life. You fight for your life so that you can start loving yourself. And then when you love yourself, you can turn around and you can start fighting for the lives of your children, for your family. And you'll start feeling again, and you'll start feeling feelings you had never felt in your life. Stuff that used to make you feel uncomfortable, like hugging your kids, or what you may used to think, that makes me feel weird. From the abuse when I was a child, I don't know. All that'll go. All of those feelings will go. The longer you stay sober, the easier it gets. And I'll end with this. I used to have to wake up and take a drink or take a pill to get out of bed. I had to. It was no option. I had no choice. That's what I had to do to get through the day, to go to work, get up in the morning, get my clothes on. I had to have a pill, a Lortab, Percocet, whatever it was. Or I had to have a Suboxone or a Subutex. Or I had to have if I didn't have that, drink me 4, 5, 6 beers getting ready to go to work just to move. And then I'd go to work and I'd do it all day long. Then I'd come back at night and I'd be miserable because I done spent all my money. Didn't have no money for nothing. My kids didn't have nothing. I didn't give my kids no money. Oh my gosh. I have neglected them so long. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve this from my son. I don't deserve my daughter to tell me she loves me. And that she's proud of me. I don't deserve that. I don't deserve to get my youngest little girl every other 2 weeks either. I don't deserve those things. Because of the way I treated them. And the father that I should have been to them, I wasn't. But thanks to this program, and thanks to finally handing it over to God Almighty, who I give all the glory for this, I get these things. Remember when I just said a minute ago, there was no choice. I had to use and drink. Today, after this program, when I get up in the morning, I have a choice. Because back then, if I woke up and I didn't take something, I'd hurt. I'd be in bed sick. I couldn't go nowhere. But because I made it through this hard time, it's going to be hard at first. But you got to start somewhere. You are not the loser people say you are. You are not the terrible parent that people say you are. You are not a dope whore. You are not whatever it is you get called. Excuse my language. You are none of those things. You may have been, but that's not what defines you. So stop it. Pick your head up. Stop feeling sorry for yourself and get better for you so that you can be better for them. And I'll say this is one of my favorite sayings. You have to be selfish in your recovery so that you don't have to be selfish anymore. You have to put your recovery first so that you don't have to put everyone you love last ever again. That is a fact. One day at a time, one moment at a time. If you're tired of living and you're tired of living this way and you feel like death would be better, think again, because there's hope. And all that starts with you being one word: willing. I'm Jason Zala. Thank y'all for listening to my story.